Hello everyone. Since a lot of you people ask me regarding how you can push your code on GitHub regarding the OS lab, so mind you, this is something that I'm going to teach you how you can set up the SSH key in your WSL and also push the code there. But some of the things can also be relevant for the ADS lab as well. Now without further ado, let me tell you what are we going to do today. So as you can see, this is my GitHub profile. What I will do first is I will come to repositories, because we need to make a new repository first where we are going to store things. So as you can see, I already have one repository for the OS lab, but for the sake of example, I'm just going to make another repository and it's going to be a test case. So the first thing you're going to do, I think some of you in the lab already made the repository OS TBD something. So what I want you to do is you can delete that repository and make a new one. But if you still have that running, it's still okay. It's going to be empty regardless. So the first thing I'm going to do is, for example's sake, I'm going to make a new repository. So all of you people who are following me for the first time might also benefit from it. So here I'm just going to give it a name like this, OS TBD2043. In my case, as you can already see, it already exists, so it is not letting me make that. But I'm just gonna put some number, or like I'm gonna change the name a little so it is not going to conflict. I will leave everything as it is. I don't want to meddle with anything. I will just create a random dry repository. So upon creating that repository, sometimes you are greeted with this kind of code, I would say, like where you have to follow. Now in my case, as you can see, it's HTTPS and SSH. I will show you in this video how you can set up your SSH key in your WSL terminal. And one more thing I want to highlight is, actually I'm using Windows. I'm not using Mac or anything. So this is something that you already have. So I think it's going to benefit a lot of you people. And those Mac users, you don't need WSL anyway, so you can still follow this example. So let me teach you what are we going to do. I'm gonna keep this GitHub on one hand, and I'm gonna open my terminal. Okay. So this is my PowerShell. As you already know, is we get into WSL. We don't work with PowerShell. We first use PowerShell, and then inside PowerShell we use WSL. We use the command WSL so we can enter into our Linux. So now we are actually using Linux. Now if I type ls to see what's going on, you see all of this data is over there, which is actually my current directory. But what I want is, instead of this path, I want my things to be in home directory, and this is, I think, what I have shown you before. You type cd and like this symbol, so by pressing that you will be in your home directory. And the reason for doing that is, like, in my case it's empty. In your case, I already showed you in the lab, it's going to show you the folder OS something, the one folder we have made. So what we did in the lab so far was, we were having one master folder or one folder, and inside that folder we were having different lab folders where each lab task was performed and was having that specific date. So in my case, as I'm running it dry for the first time, so what I will do is mkdir, I'm going to make a directory. But in your case, you don't have to do that, since you already have the folder made there. Okay, one more thing I want to highlight is, as you can see, the repository name. One more thing, before making the repository, I think I should have told you before that it's going to be the same as the folder name. In case, like, let's say if you type ls and you see a folder over here with the name like OS TBD2043 something, or like, let's say if you have used any, instead of like a underscore, you have used a hyphen or minus sign, whatever the name you see over there, you should make the repository like that. It is for convenience sake, for having to follow the same naming convention. In this case, since I made the repository like that and I'm running it for the first time, I'm gonna also make the directory the same as what I give the name over there. Okay, So now you can see there's, let me just clean the window first. So now you can see that there's a folder inside, there. The next step is to get inside that folder. Now you can skip this step because in your case, if you, when you are inside the folder, if you type ls, you will see like 2510 02, like the very first task we have done, and then 2510 I believe it's 9, and then 16 yesterday's lab. So you will find those 3 folders there. And in my case, since I made the folder for the first time, of course there's going to be nothing there. But for example's sake, what I will do is I'm going to put something in there so it's not empty. In your case, you don't have to follow because you already have the things there. You have the things there already. In your case, what you have to do is you have to just push the code over there. But in my case, since there's nothing, for example's sake, I'm just going to put a random something over there. So I'm just going to create a random README file, and I'm going to type something over there. So now you can see that. So now you can see that inside this folder I have the README file. In your case, just like I told you before, there are going to be multiple folders. What we want to do actually is whatever content we have inside this folder is going to show here in GitHub. Like we are going to push it over here. Mind you, you have to select SSH here. We are not going to follow HTTPS. We are going to use SSH. One more thing, in the ADS lab, I think for some of you, I was fixing it myself. When you were going with the HTTPS, and since it was a GUI, you were doing that thing on Windows, not WSL. So there you don't have to meddle with a lot of things. A pop-up appeared on the screen when you were pushing the code. There was like a pop-up for authentication, and it opened your browser and you authenticate from there. Mind you, like in WSL, in Linux, there's no such GUI thing like that. So you have to rely on code, and you have to rely on commands all the time. But don't worry, I'm going to show you how you can do that. So without further ado, we're going to follow things from here. So as I told you before, once you're inside a folder, okay, let me go back a little. So now I'm in my home directory. Yeah, I'm in my home directory, and I have this folder over here. I will get inside this folder, and here you don't have to get inside any of that folder, 25, 10, whatever. Like you don't have to get any inside of those folders. You should be in your main directory. That's the important thing. There, the very first thing you will do is you will initialize it as a GitHub repository. So for that, you have to follow all these commands. Git init. It's going to initialize a Git over there. So as you can see now, since my terminal is a little fancy, I'm not sure about your terminals, but I have set up my terminal in a way where it shows me that if I'm inside a directory, if there's a Git directory, it's going to appear over there. So that's one more thing. But anyways, I'm going to follow the second command now. Git add readme. But we are not going to do that. I'm going to show you a trick where you can add everything. So if you type git add, instead of a readme, I know there's a readme file in there, but I'm going to use dot. Why I'm going to use dot? Because it's going to cover everything, all the folders, all the directories, everything is going to be included. And now you can see like there's a +1 in it here as well, but we will come to that thing later. So upon adding everything, if we check the git status, it is going to show something like that. On branch main, no commits yet. And it's showing that for now, like it's readme.md is a new file that's added in the GitHub. But in your case, it's also going to show the other folders and other files as well. But this message is important. No commits yet. Like we haven't given any message or any commit message to the GitHub. So for that, I'm just gonna give git commit m initial. Like your first comment is also going to be like an initial comment, first comment, whatever you give it. It is a message that you can give, and it's not actually important that you follow the contact there. But the thing is that you have to just give a very first message there. So after doing that, you can see it's saying one file change, one inserted. In your case, again, it's going to be different if you have multiple files over there. And one more thing, you can see that the +1 has disappeared. Now, if I check the git status again, see, nothing to commit, working tree clean. So right now we have committed that thing, but it's still showing that nothing to commit, like there's nothing to be added now. So it means that locally our GitHub folder, our GitHub repository holds the changes, but we haven't pushed that. So it means that for now, like if we add any more new file and we add the git dot there, then it is going to make the change again. But now there is no change because that +1, as you can see, because we added one file, has disappeared. We are not going to add anything at this moment, so it's just showing that. So next command we're gonna follow is this one, to be on the safe side that we are in the main branch. Main, okay. It won't show anything, but like as long as it's running, it's fine. Now I will choose SSH and I will copy this command. Okay, it is done, and then I'm gonna git push. Okay, so you can see like it is giving me some kind of like authentication, and here it's saying yes, no, or fingerprint. I can go with the yes. Okay, now one more thing, I'm not sure like how visible it is, but it is giving you a warning that permission denied, public key, could not read from remote repository. Make sure you have the correct access right. At this point, what is happening is that you haven't given any access of your SSH to the GitHub. So I found this one thing on Stack Overflow that is going to help us. Okay, I was actually following this thing that if you are facing problem with GitHub just like that, how you are going to fix it. So first what we are going to do is, let me just clear the screen. We already know it's giving us an error, but let me just clear the screen. I will get back to my home directory, cd, and then this symbol. I will get back into my home directory, and the folder is already there, but that is not the concern. What am I going to do first is I'm going to open this one, generating SSH key. What we are going to do is, in this WSL we are going to establish an SSH key, and that can be used by our GitHub account. So we have the access to authenticate, or we have the authenticate access to push our code over there. So upon coming on this website, we have three options: Mac, Windows, and Linux. Mind you have to choose Linux. Just because you are on the Windows does not mean that you are going to go with Windows here. We are going to use Linux. Why? Because we are using WSL, and in WSL we have installed Ubuntu, which is Linux. So that's why we are going to go with Linux. Now here we are going to follow some of the commands. It says open terminal. We already have it open. We don't have to change anything, but we just have to add an SSH key there. So I'm just going to copy this command and paste it, and then I'm gonna put my email, the same email I use as my GitHub account email. Okay, now it is saying enter file in which save the key, home, Rihanna, SSH, like it's showing my username, and then this is important, but in your case you just have to press enter and then press enter again, and then again. It should be empty. It is going to give you something like that. Mind you, I'm just hiding this thing because it's a little confidential, but you will see some symbols over here. Now the next thing you're going to do is adding your SSH key to your SSH agent. So I'm going to copy this command and press enter. Okay, wait, I just don't have to use $sign. Okay, as you can see here, it's showing here it is something agent bit 59566. Here it's showing me a different number. In your case it's also going to be a different number, but that's not important. After that, we are going to add your SSH private key to our SSH agent. So we're going to copy this command and paste it over here again. So you see identifier added, and it is going to add our email as an SSH. And after that, our job here is basically done. So if I come back to here, I have to log in into my GitHub account, and in my GitHub account I have to add the SSH key. So let me show you how. So I will come back to my GitHub account, or maybe I will open a new one. I'm gonna come to my settings, and here as you can see there is an option SSH and GPG keys. the internet is slow. Here you can see that I have these SSH keys. Mind you, again I'm hiding them because they are still confidential. So what I will do is I will click on, in your case it might not show anything over there. In my case it is showing because I've already added some of the SSH keys. So what I will do is I will add a new one. Here I'm gonna give it a title. So as you can see, I have given some of the titles there. Something like this. Here I can give it you can give it any title you want. And in the key, this is important, you have to put your key over there. So I'm gonna open this one. Oh, sorry, not this one. Yeah, I'm going to use this command. Again, this is showing my SSH key, but since it's confidential, I cannot show you that. But what you can do after clicking on this command, it will show you something like this. You have to copy everything, including your email as well. I'm going to copy and come back here and paste it over here. Here I will click on add SSH key. We can see that we have added the SSH key, but it is showing white at the moment, which means it is unused. If we use it, it will turn into green, just like these examples up here. So what I will do is I will come back to the GitHub account, or like the repository where I'm putting my code, and I will get inside the folder again. Okay, let me clear the screen. As you can see, for now it's readme, nothing has been changed inside there, but I will copy this command and run it for the second time. You see, now it is not giving us any error. If I refresh my repository, our readme file is over there. So that means we have successfully uploaded our code into GitHub. So next time if I add something, for example in this case, like the readme is already over there. Let's say if I make a directory like our next lab, which is, I'm not sure when it's going to be, but let's say for example's sake I put it 23 task 1. So as you can see, like there's a new folder in there, and inside this folder I make one file. Okay, so we have task 1 inside this folder. Let me go back. So this is how you are going to do now. I'm again in my home directory, and here I will get inside the folder. As you can see, now we have a readme file, but we also have the new folder as well. I will do nothing now. I will just need 3 commands to fulfill to push the code over there. The first one, once again, is going to be git add dot. Remember again, I told you if you use git add dot, it will put everything inside there. So as you can see, +1. If we check the git status, it is saying new file task 1, which is inside this folder, is a new file, and it has to be committed. Then I'm going to give a commit message, git commit m, I will say like second task or something. By the way, you don't have to do this thing. We are going to do this thing when we are in the next lab. So as you can see, it's +1 is changed into like this arrow and 1. That means it has to be pushed. So after that, I'm going to use git push u origin main. If I run the code again, let it do its thing, and if I reload the page or reload the GitHub repository, you see I have a folder inside there as well. So in this folder I have task 1C. So I hope it helped you, and if you have any questions, you can ask me in the comments.